Welcome to Hello Port Hueneme. I'm your host Tom Dunn, and we are ready for another segment of Citizens Journal with the city manager, Rod Butler.
Hello, sir.
I don't have to say new city manager anymore, I don't
That's
think.
right. Yeah,
And
I passed the 6-month mark now.
I want to mention that at the city council meeting last week, we had people in the audience and we had city council members talk about how pleased they were with the new department heads that we have, the
Right.
chief of police, the Department of Public
Yeah,
Works.
Public Works.
And yourself, and that things were getting done and the communication was so much better and quicker.
Wow, that's encouraging.
So it is, because it took a while to get all this infrastructure set up so we could get stuff done, and we're still in the process
Sure.
of doing that. The first thing I want to cover is on Surfside Drive by the pavilion. We've gotten those signs up and in place, and I think I told you last week, it's a little glaring, but it does serve a purpose. You know, there's so many out-of-town people there that come in on the weekends,
Yeah.
and they're not aware that you have all those condos there. Well, you know, these aren't all teenagers and 20-year-olds, and these are some
Right.
older people who don't hear as well, see as well, and they cross the streets and maybe without thinking a lot of times. And so with those flags and signs up, I think that is really going to make it a lot safer place. And it tells people that we're trying to, you know, make it a better place for the people that come here and spend
Yeah.
time and spend the other portion is there were some changes made towards the end of the beach parking lot, where there was a new crosswalk painted and put up there, and there were
Right.
flags there. So that was accomplished by, you know, people saying, hey, we need to make that whole area safer.
Yeah.
And then the next thing is beyond where Ventura Road intersects with Surfside Drive, just on the right-hand side, there is a crosswalk 100 yards down the road, but most people cross right there because
Yeah.
that's where the sidewalk ends.
Sure.
And they want to go over to the restroom or the beach. I mentioned that to you. Is there any feedback on anybody looking into that area as being the next, because once that's done, it'll be a nice project along there that
That's right.
everything
Yeah.
is flat.
So again, Don Villafana, new Public Works Director or City Engineer, is already working on, there's kind of a short-term solution and then a
Mhm.
longer-term solution. Short-term solution would be the installation of a stop sign in that area. You know, less expensive solution that can help in the short term. The longer term is that we really would like to redesign that whole little intersection there of Ventura Road and that would be Surfside.
Right.
Yeah. That's going to be obviously a longer term, more expensive project, and it's going to require engineering, a lot of engineering work to make sure that it's designed properly. But as part of the city council approved pedestrian safety study that was approved by the council recently, that won't pay for the improvements, but it could pay for some of the design work that needs to be done. So we are looking at both, you know, the shorter term solution and also the longer term solution that would try to make that kind of strange intersection a little more pedestrian friendly.
Then the next thing is, again, the speeding in front of City Hall, the schools on Ventura Road. At the city council meeting last week, they had Chief Salinas had a video of a guy going right through the crosswalk when somebody was wanting to cross. And I can't remember if they said he was on his phone or what, but a police car was stationed there and went right out after him.
Right.
So has there been any studies or any more information on what is the plan for the area right out in front here with the school where all the kids are, and a lot of pedestrians cross and going to the Beachport Center
Oh, yeah.
and everything?
Yeah, so the police department's going to be doing a lot more enforcement, and that that operation, kind of a sting operation that you described, was one example of that. So from time to time, we'll be doing things like that. And then again, going back to that pedestrian safety study that I mentioned, that's one of the primary locations that Don Villafana and his staff will be looking at, because it's such a high, you know, it's a high traffic volume, but also high pedestrian volume area. And people have a tendency to just kind of lose it with speed there in that area.
Yeah, they do.
And not be aware of pedestrians, students, you know.
I
things
mean,
that are
I'm
going
sure
on
they'll
there.
look into speed bumps, all kinds of different things, especially since it's right out the front door.
Right.
Everybody in the city walks out and they can see it, so I think
That's
that'll garner some attention from, as I used to like to call them years ago, all the high mucky mucks, you know, that, how about you looking at this and doing
That's
something?
right.
So that'll work out really nice. Okay, good. I had mentioned one of the couple ladies let me know that live in the condos. They go walking down the promenade, and you know, it's a good lengthy walk down there. And they mentioned they'd like to have some type of restroom facility down there, even a porta potty, because by the time you walk back, that's could be an hour and a half thing. Or if you want to spend some time down at the end of the promenade and looking to think, well, no, I got to go to the bathroom, so you got to do a quick U-turn and head
Right.
back. We talked about that last week. Have you been able to follow up on that?
Yeah, so we did have a citizen send an email to City Hall on that issue. And again, I keep mentioning his name, but Don Villafana has received that and is following up on it. The direction that we're getting from the council right now is, let's make sure we fix the restrooms that we've got now before we spend too much time or money on adding one. But we're gonna at least see what would be feasible down in that end of the promenade area to see, because it is kind of a no man's land once you get that far down. So, you know, it's something we'll at least look at, and the council will decide, you know, how many resources do we put into that. But the focus right now is cleaning up the two restrooms that we currently have.
Okay. Well, they're looking into it. That's all first step.
Yeah.
Glad to hear that. I can't remember if we mentioned it. But the Santa Claus, what do we call it?
Right.
The engine,
The
the
Santa
sled,
float, the Santa float, I think it's.
the float. Okay,
yeah.
the float. There's been some headway on that. It didn't go last year, and we found out, I think the last time we talked, that not only is this, the float has an engine and steering and all that needs to be worked on, but a lot of the people that used to volunteer are no longer, you know, retired or, you know,
Sure.
most likely retired, so we got to find volunteers too. Can you give us an update on how that's coming along?
Sure, yeah, so it used to be kind of a city staff driven event where, you know, the city staff would maintain the float, operate the float, and then staff the float as it went around. It's basically one of these that some cities do, where Santa Claus is on the float and they go into different neighborhoods on different nights
Right.
prior to Christmas, handing out, I think it was candy in our case. Pretty popular program. It never really had a source of funding though. So when the council had to take a hard look at the budget in the last couple of years, that's one of the programs that was cut. What we are open to is bringing it back, but as a citizen community driven program. And there's some talk out there about folks that may be interested in doing that, not only donating money, and we're probably looking $2,000 to $4,000 to really get the float back up into good working condition, but then also providing the staffing to ride on the float and go out into the neighborhoods, interact with the community, and, you know, someone needs to play the Santa Claus role and all that. So we're open to it, and I know there's one of the cannabis entrepreneurs in our city has talked about both financially supporting that and also providing volunteers. We're being very cautious about that right now, though, because we're entering into the period of time when the city will be considering who gets the cannabis business licenses. And we don't want to create any sense of one of these folks who wants a cannabis license, kind of, for lack of a better term, buying influence and saying, you know, I will support this program, you know, he's not saying this, but in exchange for getting the cannabis license. So right now, that one individual, you know, we're still talking to that person, but we are holding off on that particular individual until we get through this cannabis licensing process. But in the meantime, if there are other folks that are interested in that, either donating or staffing the float, you know, we're definitely open to bringing that back.
Okay, can you, we had discussed last time the community garden project.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's moving along. What's the latest update on that?
Yeah, so when we talked last month, I had mentioned that when we got our new recreation manager position filled, and I explained that there were two longtime employees, Matt Bender and Debbie Young, who are retiring this summer, who were basically our entire recreation division. We are filling that position. We've done some restructuring. We're filling those two vacancies with one full-time manager level position. And when that person is officially on board, she will be in charge. I think one of the projects on her list will be the community garden, investigating that as far as, you know, is there a location that works? Can we, again, going back to community involvement, can we get some community volunteers to make that work? And we're just about within a week to 10 days of announcing. I already tipped my hand a little bit and said she, so we know it's a woman, but we're not ready to go public yet with who it is, but we're getting very close, and so that'll be on her laundry list of projects to start out with.
Yeah, that's really good news to hear. And I also talked to another citizen, Judy Fox, who did a matrix of all the other community gardens around Oxnard and Ventura and Camarillo, and that she could find out a lot of, you know, what do you really need to make one work. Right. And that's been presented to you, and I told her the situation that you just mentioned, and she said she would be more than happy to coordinate with the city anything she knows and help raise. Again, we'll need volunteers and sure. Stuff like that to make it work. So
that's great.
Glad we're moving along on that also. I know it's a slow process, but we just can't say, yeah, I'll go over there and take that plot and do whatever you want with it.
Right.
So,
yeah, I think our priority is, if we're going to get it started, let's make sure that we have a plan to make it sustainable and have it be something that can be around for a long time, rather than you know, get all gung-ho, get it started, and then have it flop after 6 months because there's just not a good plan in place to sustain it over time.
Okay. Next, I heard from, well, matter of fact, Stephen Gama, who spends a lot of time at the beach and organizes cleanup parties and takes care of the Alaska Air Memorial, said that he has noticed that the city is replacing picnic tables and benches out on the beach. What's this all about?
Yeah.
That's great to hear.
Yeah, again, the man of the hour, Don Villafana, new Public Works Director, has really taken the bull by the horns. He started March 6th, so he's got a little more than 3 months under his belt. But, you know, he heard the community concern and the council's concern about investing in the beach area and making it a more welcoming area, and making it an effort to really maintain what's there better than we have been. So that's restrooms, that's benches, tables, and he's really turned loose the Public Works staff.
Mm-hmm.
We really have not brought a lot of outside, you know, contractors or maintenance folks in, and they've just systematically been going through and you know, whether it's painting, whether it's patching, concrete, you know, all kinds of major cleanup of the restrooms, all kinds of basic maintenance that just hasn't been done over the last few years. And he's taking the whole process one step further to where he'll have kind of a summer season checklist where every year during March, April, early May, we'll be doing this same stuff so that when the tourism season starts and we start seeing more visitors at the beach, it will constantly be in a state of, you know, looking good, better repair than it has been.
Well, that's, the safety, the cleanliness, the convenience is all a selling point and will draw the people back again and again. If it's
Right.
dirty and filthy and trash all over the place, you know, why come back?
Right.
But, it does look a lot better, and people notice it now. So that's a
Great.
very good sign.
Yeah.
I wanted you to reiterate to the people about what can be done when they see overnight camping at the beach.
Sure.
We discussed it before. Yeah, call the POA. There's no hard set rules that you can do something, but if you just tell the people what they can do and how they can help the city out with that, and hopefully it'll work on down the line where we'll be able to come up with some type of rules or regulations or responsing that makes it work for everybody.
Right. So, you know, we like to be welcoming at our beach, but the bottom line is camping overnight on the beach is not allowed. That's a violation of our city code. So if you see someone there that you suspect is actually, you know, camping on the beach or in the parking lot area and staying overnight on a consistent basis, report that to the police department as soon as possible, because they will address that. They'll follow up, verify whether that's really what's happening, and gently encourage the person to move along if there is actually some camping going on. So it's always best just to, on that issue, talk to the police department, and as much information as you have about, you know, the vehicle that you're seeing or the color of the tent or whatever you.
And location.
Yeah, right. That helps the officers.
The police department did just recently get some type of beach patrol vehicle, which will
Oh, yeah.
assist them in going up and down the beach more frequently, and getting to places that maybe they couldn't have before, because there are a lot of dunes and stuff,
Right.
and it's tough walking
I know.
all the way down, up and down that beach in that sand. And so yes, if you just alert the police department and let them know, that way they have an idea of what's going on. I mean, they do have patrols down there, but it's hard to see a lot just from a car
Sure.
on the street or in the parking lot. So
That's right.
do the best you can and help out the police department. Rod, thank you very much.
Sure, thank you.
A lot of great information for the people, and hope you enjoy this, and you can join us for the next Citizens Forum.